Hey everyone, I am so excited that you're joining us today, and I'm really excited to introduce you to my friend Mallory. Mallory and I met in California. My sister actually lives with her family, which is so cool. So we've kind of really intersected only in a way that God could intersect our stories. And I'm excited for you to hear Mallory's story today because who she is and who she's becoming absolutely inspires me to my core, and I know it's going to be exciting and healing for you to hear today as well. So Mallory, thanks for joining us. And to kick it off, who's Mallory?
All right. Well, I am a mom of a beautiful little girl. She's almost 1.5, and she just lights up my life. I also am a wife to a wonderful husband. We've been together 3 years, and he is my everything, my support, and he's really my best friend in every form of the word. And I also work, and I purposely always put that after my family when I introduce myself, because it is not my first priority, but it is essential and it is a part of me. And so I am a full-time mom who works. I go to Saddleback Church, absolutely love the church. We just started, since Carly was born, going to a smaller campus, which has this great feel where everyone knows everyone. It's the same faces. And I did serve at Lake Forest, the large campus that kind of everyone thinks of when they think Saddleback. And so it's just, that's kind of my life. I spend time doing what a 1-year-old wants to do. So it's a lot of crawling around on the ground.
No, that's awesome. And you have the most beautiful daughter. She's absolutely gorgeous. And well, as we've been getting to know each other, you've been able to share your story with me, and I'm excited for you to share that with Becoming. So why don't you just take a couple minutes and share your story?
Absolutely. A big thing that I struggled with, up until probably 5 years ago, was my identity and my worth. And I really had a hard time figuring out what that was, what that meant. And I would take all the circumstances around me, and that would define me. And I would let other people define me. So starting from when I was young, I was a child of divorce, and I had a stepfather that was manipulative, and I've actually blacked out most of those memories, and I'm sure they'll come back one day. And as God makes me stronger and stronger, I'm more able to deal with those memories as they come. But I can't even tell you what my older sister and I went through other than the few memories I have. Some were great and happy, and it was fun and we did things, but also he would tell us that our real father was the devil, and that we couldn't even call him dad or talk about, oh, this weekend was so fun with our dad, and we would get in trouble. So we learned from very young, 4 or 5, to lie, to survive. And that was something that was really tough. And as I looked at the other kids at my school, I went to a Lutheran school, which was great. I had the foundation of God. My teachers were amazing mentors, and I owe them so much. And I'm Facebook friends with some of them, which is awesome. And it was this tiny little school. Everyone knew everyone, but I felt so outside. So first, that I was a child of divorce, and that made me less, and that I, dreamed of the day my parents were going to get back together, which was crazy to think. They wouldn't have ever been happy like that, but I dreamed of it and I wanted it. And, then my stepfather, who was mentally ill, actually took his life, and I was 8 or 9 years old, and going through that. And because it was a small school that was so close-knit, we had therapists at school and, talking through it. But that was just another huge cloud over me of, I had a parent that was so unhappy with life and with me that he killed himself. And, I had a really hard time struggling with what that meant and who was I, and where did I fit in that? As, time went on, my mom ended up being with another guy, and he moved in, so we had another stepfather, and it was just constantly seeking that approval from anyone around. And my sister, as she got into the high school age, she started to spend more time dating guys and, just rebelling a little bit and doing things that I had a hard time understanding. And I'm not even sure what the exact catalyst was, but one day I decided I wanted to live with my dad. And at that point, my sister wasn't even going over there. So it was a solitary decision. And I remember getting up the strength and courage and telling my mom finally. I was like, okay, I'm going to tell her and I'm going to let her know, like, I love her so much. And I knew it was going to hurt her, but I know I was prepared for the break that I saw in my mom. And that was a huge struggle. And, it was right before summer. And I said, I want to keep our normal summer schedule. And, but I want to start school with my dad and then come visit you on the weekends. And my mom she broke and, thinking she was doing something strong and powerful for me. She said, I need you to be away from me to realize the decision you're making and the impactful decision. And unfortunately, we grew very distant. And it wasn't until years later that, at first I just felt I broke my mom. And that was another huge cloud. Like now, divorce, suicide, and I have single-handedly, broke down my mom and made her so miserable she doesn't even want to be around me. And you can call that abandonment, but it was really tough because as I grew up, I thought of it as me being the person that she didn't want to be around. And I'm sure most of it was just that she was so hurt. And I can't imagine as a parent now going through that.
Yeah.
So time kind of went on. Unfortunately, I wasn't going to church. I wasn't close with God. I wasn't praying. And I had some broken relationships. I remember my first boyfriend, I didn't even know how to love, what love meant. And, he asked me to be his girlfriend. So I'm like, okay. And then he kind of held my hand. I'm like, don't touch me. Like, I didn't even want to be around him. And it's just so crazy that, to think that those were my relationships because I just didn't have any of that self-worth to realize I was worth finding what I wanted and not just listening to what other people wanted. One of my boyfriends in high school, the first time I really stepped outside the bounds of kissing, was actually manipulative. And he would tell me that I had to give him oral sex or else, I didn't care about him. And if I said no, he's like, well, just leave and get out of here because you don't care about me. And I wanted to care about him. I wanted to be, loved and cared for. And I felt like I needed to do those things for him because he was depending on me for happiness. Again, not realizing that I have so much worth to, have someone wanting to make me happy instead of me being the one making others happy. And unfortunately, that just created more of a cycle. And, I lost my virginity in high school later on. And I thought I loved the guy and that this was going to bridge us. And, he was moving away. And unfortunately, it didn't. And not only that, when I lost my virginity to someone I truly didn't love because I didn't understand how to love and how to accept love. Yeah. It was empty. And that was hard for me because I think we all feel that, Hollywood says, oh, you're so in love and it's perfect and there's fireworks and there's not. And of course now, with my husband, we're intimate and we're able to reach a different level, but it can be very empty if you're not mature and prepared. So my broken relationships continued, and at 19, the biggest label that really broke me is I had an abortion. And what kind of led me to that was awful. But I don't even want to talk about that, more of what I did to myself.
Yep.
I felt empty.
Yeah.
There was, as I stared at that positive pregnancy test, I didn't pray. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell my friends. I told the guy because I felt it was my fault completely. And I now look back and know that's not true, but the choice was mine. I told him because I had to have someone pick me up. That was it. And I carried it with me for a long time. I literally wore a necklace that reminded me of it because I didn't want to put myself in those circumstances that led to it ever again. And I just, I wore that for a few years. I had to move out of my parents' house because I couldn't even bear to like see them anymore. And, you know, I felt that, I just felt worthless and empty, and I drank a lot, you know, had empty friendships, dated a few guys, but I had no ability to replicate any emotion for anyone, because I just was an empty vessel. And, you know, I have to say now, like, it's awful. When I watched a video recently of what happens when an abortion happens, and I, you know, didn't learn that in school. You know, it's just kind of a word that goes across the screen that no one wants to talk about. And even now in this political world, no one wants to talk about it. And you have to be on one side or the other. And I can't even tell you where I stand today, but that I cried when I watched it. And it's an awful thing. And that I want to get ahead of that. I want to get ahead of the situation that leads you to making that awful choice. And that's why I'm sharing it, because I don't want to have to portray like girls that are pregnant, these are the decisions you need to make. I want to stop you from getting pregnant. I want to stop you from feeling worthless enough to have meaningless sex. And that's why I'm here. So luckily I had a few opportunities when God really tried to reach out to me afterwards. And I had my tonsils taken out like shortly afterwards. And, you know, like the nurse is doing all the paperwork and everyone has to leave the room because she has to make sure everything I said was honest. And I told her, I was like, I have to tell you that I have been, you know, put to sleep for this. And she gave me a hug and she was like, I had one too. And for that moment, for that person you put in my life, and she goes, you're forgiven. She like was reaching out to me and I was empty. Like, no, I'm not. Like, I don't deserve forgiveness. You just don't understand. It's different. Your situation is different. You do deserve forgiveness. And, you know, she said she had children and it was amazing and difficult at the same time. And I just passed it off and was like, oh, she has no idea. Like, she doesn't know who I am. And then, like, fast forward a little bit and I met someone that my parents really loved this guy. And I could tell they thought he was it for me. And I had a really tough time. You know, we were friends, but I didn't see it, but I wanted to impress him and I wanted him to like me because it was important to my parents. And one day I had told him eventually about like the necklace I wore, and he just said, I dare you to throw it away. Because he said, you know, why do you wear it? And I was like, I don't know. I don't need to wear it. Of course, like, you know, sometimes we just act like, oh, no big deal. And I remember throwing it away, and instead of what you think would have been liberating, like, oh, I'm free, it was, I can't do this. I can't let go. I'm going to end up in that situation again. I'm going to make mistakes again. I need to be able to hold on to heal, not realizing I needed to let go to forgive. And a couple weeks later, as I still struggled with it, he told me he had told my parents, and that it was months before. And as I sat quietly absorbing that information, I remember in my head thinking, you know, well, they haven't treated me differently and they haven't brought it up. So maybe it is okay. Maybe I'm okay. And he hadn't told my parents. It was God worked through him to get me to realize, like, it's not written across your forehead. Like, you know, you can be a bigger person and you can come out of this. And he's not religious. He doesn't go to church, but God used that person in a powerful way for me. And that was kind of the moments I started to change. And when I met my now husband, I wasn't healed and I wasn't going to church all the time, but I was ready. I was ready to change. And I was starting to reach out. He told me he went to church all the time with his parents. So I remember walking through those doors by myself, walking up the steps to the very back and, you know, where it's kind of dark and the lights don't really touch, and just crying. Just, you know, God heal me. God, make me a better person, you know, and just praying, kind of listening to the message, but more just being in God's house. And it was a powerful time that I struggled with. And one person that, because I would go and then not go for a little bit and then go again and try it. And Matt's grandmother, she did something so powerful that I don't even think she realizes. When I met her, she grabbed my hand and held onto it, which was uncomfortable. And she just said, oh, honey, you know, do you go to church? And she's this quirky woman that is just wonderful and just, is everything that God wants us to be in a disciple. And I told her, yeah, I go by myself sometimes. And she said, not anymore. You're going to come with us every Sunday. And it was a powerful moment for me as this woman I didn't know was holding my hand at this guy that I finally was able to be myself with and respected me. And, my husband and I started as friends. So that was powerful, that it wasn't all about me physically. It was about the whole me. And she cared about me. And not only that, she cared if I went to church, and it was important to her. And that was huge for me because I had never had anyone really extend out that deeply. And, the night went on and she didn't even realize that impact it put on my life and how huge it was, and how I can look back now and go, those moments when you stop for someone can change their life.
Yep.
And I've just struggled through this and struggled with hiding it, obviously, and not wanting to tell anyone, and just rebuilding myself. And my husband is just so sweet about it, and he's so calm and so caring. And even as I've gone through preparing for this, as I've been, very introspective, and my sins have popped up in my mind, and as I'm driving and I feel pain again, and I kind of relive it, and I more focus on what have I been through. I've been through that divorce, that suicide, rape. I've been through manipulation. I've been through being treated like trash. I beat out when someone I loved had me try drugs because they wanted to share what they had, and they wanted me to feel their thing that they felt. And I looked up to that person, so I did. But I got out of it. I didn't go another time. I actually lost respect for them and knew I needed to get away. But all these things that I've, come out of and that I can now use to help others heal, every time those sins pop up, I just pray to God, and I go through my list and I remind myself, I am a strong woman that is going to use my story to make other women and men stronger. So, that's my story.
Wow. I love what you just said there. Oh my goodness. I am a strong woman who's going to use my story to make others stronger. Like, wow. That is something that I want to write on my mirror, say every day when I wake up or something. That's huge. Thank you for sharing your story, for who you are. And it definitely does not go lightly on me. Your courage and your bravery and your strength in sharing your story. And I'm 100% confident that you are making countless women stronger right now. The women who are watching this, for sure, without a doubt. So if you were sitting across from another woman, having coffee, water, tea, like what we get to do today, exactly. She's on her own journey. What would you say to just encourage her?
So I think I have a few things. I realized that as I looked back, and, first off is you are not your circumstances. Absolutely not. You have so much worth. And a big thing is, you're important. And I searched forever for someone to validate me, not realizing that God validates me in everything I do every day. He already knows. He knows how I feel. He knows what I'm going through. He knows that I, have been knocked down by this person, and that's how I feel. And I don't need someone to validate me, because God validates me. And even now becoming a mom, and, I've realized the way I treat my daughter is how I should treat everyone. And I listen to her babbling, and I try my hardest to understand her, and I have engagement with her, and, I react with emotion. I need to do that with everyone. As they're telling me something, I need to be able to listen completely, even if I don't understand what they're saying. Yeah. And, when she cries and I don't understand why, I have complete empathy for her, which I feel like I need to do the same for everyone. I need to, and we all do, we need to have complete empathy. If someone tells you they're sad, and a big thing is a lot of times we think, how could you be sad? You have a great life. And I remember being told that in high school, you have a great life. And, I battled with depression, and it's something that we don't have to understand someone else's emotions. We don't have to fix them. A lot of times we just need to listen and listen completely and put down our phones and our social media and our computers and just live in that moment and let go of our social community and just be with our current company. I think that's huge, huge, huge. And then the other thing I would say is we just need to be the change. I think we have the power to change everyone, all of the young men and women and parents. And as crazy as this sounds, I feel like if we made enough emphasis and made, promiscuous sex instead of being fun as TV kind of has it, we make it as morally wrong as drugs. I mean, I can tell you that most people would say, I've never been drunk enough to allow someone to inject me with drugs. And why is that? Why can we have a moral compass for that? Yet, our flirtations lead to sex and we think that that's okay. Like, how do we start to create that? And I think it's just by letting people know they have so much worth and they're worth more than attention from a guy or a girl, or, they're worth more than that small moment of feeling wanted for something more powerful. And, to all the girls out there and guys, anyone going through any of the things I went through, you're so important. You mean the world to God and you mean the world to me. And if I can help one person feel more complete by sharing my story, I'll take all the ridicule in the world. I'll take losing a few friends, and I'll take all the, gossip at the family reunion that might come with this. Because it is so important to me that women and men gain that self-awareness, self-respect, and that courage to be who God's creating them to be.
Oh, that's incredible. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story and sharing that encouragement. I know I'm encouraged, and the BecomingMe.TV community is as well. So Mallory, thank you. Thank you for risking sharing your story. I know you are helping way more than just one person. You've helped me today, so you already hit the one quota. Exactly. But thank you. And for all of you who are watching, continue to read in this post. You'll see some more incredible things and thoughts from Mallory, and we'll have some resources. If you're going through different elements that Mallory shared in her story, and you're just wondering, how can I maybe get some help, or what's the next step I can take, and you're just not sure what to do next, we'll have some links for some things that you can connect with as well, and continue to follow Mallory and Mallory's story. So Mallory, thank you. Sure do love you, and I'm cheering you on big time.
Love you, and I love this whole community. I love everyone out there. And again, I'm here to listen too. Message me on Facebook. I'm willing to listen because I know I needed that person there for me before.
Awesome. Thank you.